ideologist, apologist, all quiet right now. I was just trying to put the two together. They were deriving their strength from the LTT. When the LTT was decimated, so are the intellectuals supported and the apologists who wrote on behalf of Tamil separatism. You know, that's intellectual dishonesty at the highest level. Then those who are engaged in ethnic riots. Here, gentlemen, large part of the Sri Lankan society is responsible. Anyone, I don't think anybody here is involved, but we know it happened 1950s, 1970s and 1983. Any Sinhalese, Tamil or a Muslim who had anything to do with ethnic riot is very responsible for these attitudes that has been created. The fear of life, you were talking about right to life, the fear of life that both Tamils and the Sinhalese feel in this country had its origin in the ethnic riots. Now, what are the attitudes supportive of national integration? What is the kind of attitude we need? Okay. Now, these are the attitudes that we need to create, looking at the ground reality, perhaps a little bit of the constitution as well. Sri Lanka is a single state. Whether you want to, whether you want to qualify our constitution as unitary, quasi-federal, or whatever, it doesn't matter. But the simple everyday language is this is a single state. There are no two states here. We are one state. Unless we have that attitude, okay, right attitude in our heart, everybody, Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, okay, we will not be able to have the right national integration. Sri Lanka is one nation. Okay, we have ethnic groups, Sinhalese, Tamils. Sometimes when we look back at history and define nation in different ways, I myself have said that Sinhalese are a nation. Tamils are a nation in the making, but a failed project. Some people said Muslims are not ethnicity, it's only a religious group. Be that as they are, the fact is that we consider ourselves today, Sri Lanka, as a nation, and we all need to be. Now here, it is not only the Tamils, but even the Sinhalese and the Muslims have to develop this attitude, inculcate this attitude. Sri Lanka is a multi-ethnic state. That's another thing to remember. Okay? This is not a state belongs to one nation, one ethnic group. It's everybody's. Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, Burghers, you name it. So it is a multi-ethnic state. So as far as the citizenship is concerned, everybody is equal. Sri Lanka is the homeland of all of its citizens. That's the attitude that we have to have. Jaffna and East, Batticaloa is also my hometown, figuratively speaking. So is Prabhakaran, well, he is no longer there, but anyone else, any Tamil can live anywhere in this country, any Sinhalese should be able to live anywhere in this country. And the last of the supportive attitude that require for national integration is the Sri Lankans should be patriotic, where we put the country first and all other identities next. This is very sad. What happens is, during elections, there are no Sri Lankans here. We have the UNPers, we have the SLFers, we have the JVPers, we have the TNAs, you name it. Okay? And on other times, we have the Sinhalese, we have the Tamils, we have the Muslims. Then we may have the Buddhists, we have the Christians. Where is the Sri Lankan? Now this is the responsibility, the right attitude. If Sri Lankanness is there, where it becomes the first identity, that is not to say that we need to give up our ethnic identities. You know, I'm a proud Sinhalese Buddhist. I say this at any of them. But at the same time, I feel I'm a proud Sri Lankan as well. They are not contradictory, they are complementary. We need to know this, we need to tell this. Now, my last slide is...
2 minutes more, Dr. Henrik.
Sure. Who is responsible for creating that right attitude? The state. Now, the state is a very elusive term. It encompasses everything. Okay? State includes from the president of the country right down to the ordinary voter. Everybody is responsible. So let's break it down a little bit more. The government. Here we have government representatives, 2 of them, ministers. You are responsible for, sir, for creating that attitude, that's right attitudes in this country. We have the representative from the presidential office, the highest administrative officer in the country. You are responsible for that. Creating the Sri Lankan identity. Okay? So all levels of government. We talked about parliament. Parliament is responsible for that. From everybody, all the 3 areas of the government. The political leaders, whether they are in the parliament or not, their priority should not be the party and the cobbles in the party, as we see some of these days. Where is the Sri Lanka? When are they talking about Sri Lankanness? Even, for example, when our armed forces were fighting against LTT, the politics took the upper hand and you got ridiculed. That's a very wrong way of doing it. That's not how it should be. So the political leaders too should realize that while they should be members of their own political party and trying to win elections, that's their game, but they are all Sri Lankans. And they should inculcate that Sri Lankanness among their own party supporters as a requirement. Civic leaders of the country, wherever they are all responsible. Education system. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, sir, this story a little bit. I went to Marthalis St. Thomas's. Okay? It had Sinhalese, Buddhists, Christians, Muslims. Every morning, now this is a challenge. There are 2 representatives from the Sri Lankan cabinet here. I am challenging you to implement this in the future. Okay? Going back to St. Thomas's School. In the morning, before we start the school, the Buddhist goes to one side, Christian goes to another place, Muslims goes to another, Hindus goes to another, and we pray to our different gods and leaders. So we start the day with division. And how our Sri Lankan education system, we start when they are 6 years old, and for the next 12, 13 years, this is what happens. So by the time they leave the school system, we have created good Sinhalese, Buddhist, Christians, Hindus, Tamils, but not a Sri Lankan. Whereas, if you go to an American school, kindergarten even, the very first thing they do when they start the school, they have the national flag on the right-hand side of every classroom. Even little kids put their hand on the heart and read the Pledge of Allegiance. They do that for 13 years, 5 days a week, some 40 weeks a year. By the time they leave the school system, they have created perfect American national. Why can't we do this? Why can't we send national flags to each and every classroom in this school, in this nation? And develop a Pledge of Allegiance, our own Pledge of Allegiance. We have the expertise. The time has come to do this.
Okay,
this is the challenge.
Thank you.
One last thing, of course. Intellectuals like us telling the world the right thing. Factual things, not ideological things. And the media for you to report this to the nation correctly. Thank you very much.